Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlickers, shills, debt slaves, serfs, peasants, vassals, minions, meat sacks. I'm usefully welcome. So, we have, for the first time in history, reached a $1 trillion defense budget passed by Congress, and this will be going into 2026. And it just blows my mind that we've actually reached the point where we're spending $1 trillion on defense and the military in a time when, of course, the country is $37 trillion in debt, and we have so many other financial issues right now. But what a whopping number, and it's arrived at by the $901 billion appropriated for defense, and then a $156 billion supplemental that was in the so-called Trump Big Beautiful Bill. So that's how we arrive at $1 trillion. And Hegseth said that that number will grow going into the next couple of years. So apparently, defense spending is going to expand beyond $1 trillion. And of course, we end up in a couple of wars this next year. There'll be money going into that as well. But so it's the NDAA once again, established under Bush. And so it's the NDAA military budget for 2026. And a couple of things that it leaves out, though, is it leaves out trillions of dollars in State Department for military assistance and weapon sales. And so there's a lot of numbers that actually are part of the military that don't get included in that main number of what's authorized for next year. And so we have to take those into consideration because all of these are expenditures for the military. And so it makes the number seem a little less shocking when you take out a number of things that are actually part of the military budget. And so it leaves out $440 billion a year for the veterans budget. It doesn't cover $300 billion of interest on the debt for the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Doesn't count the $30 billion that we've given to Israel the last 2 years to perpetrate their genocide. And as I mentioned, it leaves out trillions of the State Department for military assistance and weapon sales. And then also that doesn't include whatever the budget is for the CIA, and which is involved in a lot of our military actions. And then it doesn't include the number of that's used for hiring mercenaries. And so there's a lot of hidden costs. So if you add up everything that's missing out of the main appropriation for defense expenditures, you actually end up with more like $1.7 trillion. And so that's a massive amount for the U.S. to be putting in our military. And of course, we have the largest military budget of the year, and it's 40% of global military spending and 70% of military spending compared to all our allies and the world. Russia only spends $200 billion a year on their military. China only spends $300 billion a year on their military. So that puts it in perspective. We're 3 to 4 to 5 times what China and Russia. In fact, even if you combine China and Russia, we're spending twice that. And so, and also I'd add too, that doesn't include the maintenance and expansion of nuclear weapons or all the intel agencies besides the CIA that are involved in military expenditures. And one of the other things that's hidden in this NDA budget appropriation is a clause that blocks any troop withdrawals from South Korea and Europe, and then a clause that says that it will protect Israel from any arms restrictions, and it also lifts sanctions on Syria. But that's a couple of interesting little clauses in there. Of course, now nobody can stop arms sales to Israel, at least as far as the U.S. is concerned. And then, of course, Trump has talked about removing U.S. troops from Europe and South Korea, although I don't see that happening in the present climate. But interesting that those are in there. But one of the bottom line for me that's really interesting on this whole thing is that when Trump got elected, he once said that we could get by on half the military budget that we had if we were just smart about it. And so we're not at $500 billion, and that would be half of what we're spending now. And of course, back then we were only spending what, 900 billion dollars. And so anyway, I guess Trump has rethunk that idea of cutting the military budget in half because we should just buy smarter. I'm a useful idiot, don't you be one too?